imagine 3 packs a day.
Mm-hmm. Salem longs too. Not those little short
Wow.
ones, the big ones. Yes.
Wow. How life has changed. Well, you started your company and you provide an amazing service, and you're now, kind of years later and down the road, and we were talking because I actually came to you seeking your
Mm-hmm.
services with Talent Tapes, and you shared something really interesting with me. You shared a big lifestyle change that you've recently gone through. Can you share a little bit about that? Because I think it's pretty life changing.
Yeah, sure. Well, it all began with my annual. I go get a physical every year, like most people do. And every year, as I've been getting a little older, my numbers were getting a little worse, a little worse, and a little worse, but nothing catastrophic. And then about a year ago, I went for that physical, and my doctor came in, and all the numbers had finally started crossing over red lines. And he says, Rich, it's time for us to have a real serious talk, and I hope it's not too late. I had high cholesterol. I had high blood pressure. I had everything bad that you don't want. My blood sugar, he wanted to go ahead and diagnose me right then as diabetic. I found a loophole. I was 1/10 of a point under the threshold. And he
Wow.
goes, yeah, but look at your numbers. In 6 months, when you come back, you're definitely going to be over it. So let's go ahead and diagnose you now, get you started on some medicine. I said, you know what? Give me 6 months. That's all I ask. Give me 6 months to do what I can to start turning some of this around. And he says, well, how serious are you about that? I said, well, yeah, I think at this point, I probably should have been really serious, a couple of years ago at least. But here at the last minute, let me see what I can do. So I went home and I shared this story with my wife. And the next thing I know, a couple of days later, she says, hey, Rich, our daughter, Kate, who is a nurse, by the way, has invited us out to her house with her husband for dinner tomorrow night. Well, great. Let's go out and have dinner with our daughter, Kate. So we go out there, and my older daughter, Kate, is vegan, and she has put her husband on a vegan diet as well. He has a lot of the same issues that I have. And so we're having dinner, and she's talking up, oh, Rich, how do you like that vegan dish? Right? Oh, that's really good. And this dish right here, it's vegan also. What do you think? Oh, that's really good. It's that kind of thing. And I'm just thinking, we're having a little talk about, the meal that we're having.
Sure.
And then the next thing I know, it turns out, oh, no, they had planned all this behind my back. This was a health intervention that my family is doing on Dad.
Wow.
And
How did that how'd that make you feel? I mean, were you upset about it, or what was your initial reaction? Because you had to wonder, like, what is going on with all these vegan dishes when you were a meat eater, right? You ate.
I'm a hardcore. Yeah, I'm a hardcore carnivore. There's nothing I like better than a big greasy steak. So you know what? I guess a lot of people might have been a little put off by it, but they were so nice about it, and they were so caring about it, and they were so loving about it, and they just wanted me not to die.
Yeah.
That I sincerely appreciated it. And after they got through talking to me, I look up, and who's walking through the door but my daughter's father-in-law, who is well into his 80s. And my family gets up and leaves the table, and he sits down. I mean, they had this coordinated.
Wow.
And he said, Rich, they've told me what's going on with you. And he said, I just wanted to have a talk with you too. I said, all right, what do you have to say? He goes, when I was your age, 20-something years ago, I had the same kind of results on a physical that you just had. And so I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you what not to do. And I said, I am all ears. He goes, don't do what I did. I didn't listen to anybody. And since then, he's had 3 or 4 heart attacks. He's got a dozen stents in his heart. Wow. He's got terrible diabetes. The whole thing, it all went bad. And he said, so you're full-grown men. You do whatever you want to do. But my advice is take it from one who's been there. Don't do what I did. I didn't listen to him.
Interesting.
Good luck. So that was all I really needed to hear.
So did you take the advice? I mean, what happened? How do you go from being a hardcore carnivore to a vegan?
Yeah. And you know what? I'm surprised how many people don't understand exactly how strict being vegan is. It's not vegetarian. It is you do not eat anything that is of or from an animal. That's poultry, that's eggs, that's cheese, that's milk. You don't eat any of that. You only eat plants. And the less processing of the plants, even better.
Mm.
So I had a long talk with my daughter. She knew all about how to do it. And she gave me several books to read and some documentaries to watch. I mean, it was a crash course in
Yeah.
being vegan. And so I said, here is the only way I think I can do it. I would like to try it. I began to believe pretty quickly, yep, this is going to be what saves me if I can do it. I truly believe that it's a good way to eat. But I also knew I really like a good meal. And I am not into self-denial at all. So I decided, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to go out into the world and I am going to search out vegan food that I like as much as the non-vegan food I am currently eating. Because I don't want to sit there having a meal thinking, man, I can't believe I'm having to eat this. I'd much rather be eating a steak.
Sure.
Because that's not going to work for me. That's not going to last. And so for the last year, that's what I've been doing. I have been going out looking for things that I would never have thought of to eat before, that I could say, you know what, I would order this in a restaurant even if I could still eat steak because I like this as much or better. And I got to tell you, there have been some hits and there have been some misses. But over time, I'm accruing enough hits that I've been real comfortable with it. And it's been kind of exciting. It's been a little bit of an adventure.
So how long have you been officially, let's say, vegan?
I'm coming up on a year.
A year?
In about a month. Mm-hmm.
And have you had any of your blood work done or any sort of, visits since your last?
I did.
To see how that's impacted it?
At the 6-month mark, and that was the physical that my doctor a year ago had said, when you come back in 6 months, I'm going to go ahead and diagnose you then as diabetic because you were certainly going to be diabetic at that point, looking at your trend. When I came back in 6 months, this is how fast it worked. Now, let me also add, I've added in exercise also. So that's a component that we have to consider also.
And I'm assuming you quit smoking.
Oh, I quit smoking 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
First
all right.
episode.
So that didn't come back. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
My doctor at the 6-month mark walked in the exam room with all of my test results and high-fived me. He says, Rich, I cannot believe what I am seeing here. He said, do you know how many times I have people tell me, give me 6 months and I'll turn it around, and how few of them can actually do it? He says, your blood sugar, which has been on an upward trend for the past 5 years, held steady this time. You haven't turned it around, but it's held steady, so you are still technically not diabetic. He said, that's fabulous. That's almost impossible to do. He said, your cholesterol is now down in a low normal range. Your blood pressure.
Where you were where before?
Oh, I was up around the 250 mark.
And did you go down?
They want you to be 200 or below, and I was in the 160 range.
Wow. So you dropped about 90 points.
A lot. Yeah,
wow.
It was dramatic. To the extent, make a long story short, he said, you know what? At this point, I have no reason to keep you on a statin drug for your cholesterol.
Wow.
I have no reason, according to these results, to keep you on a high blood pressure medicine for your high blood pressure. And we certainly don't need to be putting you on diabetic medicine right now because you're still managing to hold it below the mark. So at this moment, I am on no medications whatsoever. I've been able to do every bit of that with diet and exercise. So
you were able in 6 months to reverse pretty much that complete, like when people think, well, I'm not going to possibly be able to turn it around that fast. You did it. You showed that in 6 months you could reverse that trend.
That's right. Yeah. But once again, I was hardcore on this.
Yeah.
I was hardcore with the diet. I was hardcore with the exercise. And I think the combination of those two just works.
When you say hardcore with the exercise, what does your exercise routine look like?
Well, once again, I'm not doing it the ordinary way. I do not have the patience to get on a treadmill and jog mindlessly for 30 minutes a day. So just like I said with the eating, I'm going to go out in the world and find things I like to eat just as much as what I won't be eating. Yeah. I said I'm going to find exercise, things that will constitute exercise that I enjoy doing instead of the mindless stuff that they want you to do. And so of all things, I enjoy manual labor.
All right.
I know that sounds crazy.
We know who to call now.
I enjoy working in the yard. I have a big garden, and I enjoy digging and planting and doing all that kind of stuff. So I do a lot of that now. I enjoy building things. I enjoy construction. I spent the summer building a fishing cabin on some property I have on a river near here. And I built it all by myself. And that's hard physical activity. You're walking up and down ladders, you're picking up boards, you're hammering and you're nailing and you're sawing. And
that's functional fitness, by the way. That's what it's called.
Is there a word for that?
It's functional fitness. Yeah, because you're doing, more than just everyday things, but you're doing everyday activities. And that, ultimately we need to be strong and physically fit so that we don't injure ourselves doing those things that we're supposed to be doing every day.
Okay. I had no idea there was a word for it. I just knew I enjoy those kind of activities and it gets my heart rate up. So I think that counts. And so that's the kind of thing I do. If they told me, Rich, you got to do 400 sit-ups a day and run 3 miles on a treadmill, I'd say, that's not going to happen.
That's not fun.
But I have been able to find things that I enjoy doing both with food and with exercise that I enjoy. And that's the key to it. If it's drudgery, I'm probably not going to stick with it. But doing it this way.
I like what you're saying here because, it's true. Like, I think people get into this mindset and they think, well, exercise needs to be pounding it at the gym and food needs to be, if we're eating this way, it's going to taste like cardboard, but that's just really not the case. So you've got your exercise routine, really, which is functional fitness. And then you've got your food choices. I mean, you mentioned that you sought out the things that you really enjoyed and you ate more of those. What would you say your favorite meals would be where you don't feel like there's any compromise?
Boy, that's a good question. I've discovered a full range of things. But I guess if I had to pick food, I have really learned to love Indian food. We have a number of really good Indian restaurants here in the town I live in. And a lot of Indian food is vegan. And so we eat a lot of Indian food. But I also like other types of food. Well, today at lunch, for example, I have a big garden. And so I went out into the garden and I picked some tomatoes and some cucumbers and some okra and a few other things. And I diced up a nice vegetable plate, a vegetable salad that was just delicious. And I ate some nuts with it for some extra protein. And it was delicious. It's those kind of things that you can't just stick with one thing. At least I can't. I have a variety of different things. And I'm willing, at this point, I'm still trying new things. And I will tell you, one of the interesting things about this, I mentioned earlier, it's been kind of an adventure. I read menus now. I haven't read a menu in years. I would just go into a restaurant, hey, give me a T-bone steak, cook it medium, and a big baked potato with a lot of butter too, please.
Sure.
Never look at a menu. Now I pore over menus to see what they've got that might fit within my diet that I might like. And I have found a lot of restaurants now have menu items that actually fit a vegan lifestyle that are delicious. I've also learned that there are some chefs here in my town that are themselves vegan. And I go to their restaurants and I just tell the waitress, hey, tell your chef you got a vegan guy out here. Start sending me out some vegan stuff. And they get the biggest kick out of cooking for another vegan. Because they don't get to do that, I guess, that often. There's one restaurant here in town in particular, I've gotten to know the chef. And I literally had just heard that the chef there was vegan, told the waitress to mention that I was vegan. And he actually came out and introduced himself to me. And he says, do you just trust me to send you out some good stuff? I said,